Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchup for the weekend of the 13th of October. We only got one right this week. We should have got three in all honesty. We'd noted down the Portugal and Iceland games on our sheet and we didn't mention it because we thought it was going to be low on the likelihoods, but we're not going to make that slip up again. So if you can smash the likes, guys, would be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new. Follow me on Twitter, G is a legend. All the links are down below for playlists in the channel and social media links. As always, 4 out of 8 is our score at the moment. Let me know in the comments down below what you've scored so far. So first route of the week is Atletico versus Barcelona. The only standout game in Spain, but a 79-80 rated squad is probably what you're going to have to build. You might even just go to 78, time will tell, but with squad battles and weekend league rewards coming in thick and fast, people should have more players and coins in their disposal. But two or three players I would say from Atletico and Barcelona respectively. I've got Hernandez and Vidal, and you could easily throw in another option like Alcacer for example. But for me, it wouldn't be too difficult to put together, and anywhere between a 15 to 30k package per lord. 10 to 12k at the very most is what it costs, but even then they're not costing that much. It's setting you back around 20k to do, so it might not be that expensive in all honesty, so be surprised. Three options in the EPL, you've got Chelsea, Crystal Palace game, you've got then Watford and Arsenal, but the standout is Liverpool versus Manchester United. This could even be an 8 out of 10 for likelihood, but 79-80 rated squad, they're not going to make this too light. But smart options I've seen are Karius and Carrick for Liverpool and Manchester United respectively. You could also look at Andrew Robertson, but fairly straightforward. A handful of nations I would suspect might even go an all EPL route. I'm not 100% certain, but a handful of rares is always kind of good to cover your back. And anywhere between a 20 to 30k pack, I would imagine it'll give you a rare gold pack or a premium gold plus pack. They'll give you something worthwhile for your trouble. And as I say, 7 or 8 out of 10 for likelihood, but strong shout for this week. And not had many EPL options yet I think. But then Italy, you've got 3 options with Juventus, Lazio, then you've got the Roma Napoli, but Inter versus Milan, AC Milan is the big game, and I would say this should happen. Obviously AC Milan featured in the very first week for FIFA 18, but be prepared nonetheless. You've got like Cancelo, D'Ambrosio, Andre Silva the striker. You can look in midfield as well for options for Inter and AC respectively. Fairly straightforward, 78 to 80 rated squad I'd imagine, 2 or 3 players, 7 out of 10, anywhere between a 15 and 25k pack will be your reward. 90k plus as always. I always aim for 100 guys just to cover my back just in case, because they like to go 95k as an option, but fairly straightforward. MLS, you've got a Canadian derby in the form of Toronto and Montreal. I've not seen any other games in the MLS that stand out, but there might be one that I've easily missed. But for me, Toronto and Montreal, because we don't really get many MLS options crop up, and especially if the season not far away from finishing, I would say this is a strong shout. My suggestion, guys, try and get all the gold players ideally in the league. So like Dos Santos, Bradley, Nagbe, Mullins, Pedro Santos, all these kind of guys. But in all honesty, it's fairly straightforward. 2 or 3 players from the team, decent enough rate. I've said 75 just to cover my back, and I would say 6 or 7 out of 10 for likelihood. That has a strong shout, so be prepared for your options for this week. And I would say a good reward as well, 10 or 15k pack will be your reward. Derby versus Nottingham Forest, this is a very hotly contested game. A lot of history between both sides and always has a lot of drama. I've seen some people would say that going all gold could be an option, and in theory I would agree that you can buy the whole like gold players within the league fairly cheap. But in all honesty, Derby and Nottingham Forest got a handful of 2 or 3 players at least, then a mix of nations and also the rares as well, because it's easy enough to forget that. But 6 out of 10, I feel the Montreal game might get slight preference, but still Derby and Nottingham Forest, very strong shout, and it would actually be very cheap to do. It wouldn't set you back too much, anywhere between 5 to 8k, and if you've got everyone already you can even probably get some of the silvers for 150. Then we've got the Melbourne Derby, guys. This is the other big alternative that they can throw in. So it just kind of shows you this week. Obviously last week we had several big games in Australia, and we still have big games this week. But for me, I would recommend buy up all the golds within the league. There's not too many, but then just kind of cover your back with bronzes and silvers. But 2 or 3 players from the league, all from Melbourne and Melbourne Victory all told. And then anywhere, I'm saying 72, 73 rating, it has that feeling about it because they could go quite high and there's a lot more gold within the league now. But 6 out of 10 for likelihood, and I would say a 10, 15k pack would be your reward. And it's not very expensive, the league is relatively cheap despite people mass buying the league over the last couple of weeks because of preparing for MLS routes. And the last route is Jeonbuk versus Jeju United. This is a top 2 clash in the Korean League, and with the league getting kind of near the latter stages, this has a very strong shout and importance. But for me, Orsic and Danjanovic worth buying up because they're 2 of the goals within the league, and then just kind of buy up two or three players from Jeonbuk and Jeju respectively, and then just cover at least the nation's requirement as well, because there's Spanish and Brazilians to work with, and there's a few Japanese. And in all honesty, once you're covered from there, it's just make sure you've got enough Koreans in the team as well, because they could easily go a South Korean option as well for a requirement. And as I say, a few rares in doesn't always hurt, and then you'll be well and truly covered. So as I said, there's 11 routes all told, guys, this week, so tune in quite clearly to what I've said. Hopefully we'll get something from this and get 3 or 4 out of this. So hopefully you find this useful, guys. Let me know in the comments below if I've missed anything. Smash likes as always, sub to the channel if you're new, and I will catch you all later.